Try not to fly away.
This is Austin, state capital of Texas. It is a city brimming with culture. It has a fantastic music scene, and the food has to be experienced to be believed. What are we interested in? Well, of course, it is the Circuit of the Americas, an iconic track, relatively young, but one which provides such objectives for our Ferrari Challenge drivers, especially in 2024, as we take to the track with a brand new car, the Ferrari 296 Challenge, as we launch what will be an epic season of Ferrari Challenge racing. Hello everyone, and welcome to Ferrari Challenge North America 2024. We are at the Circuit of the Americas to launch what will be a phenomenal season with a brand new car, of course, the Ferrari 296. So much to look forward to. Let's go down onto the grid right now for the national anthem.
Fratelli d'Italia, l'Italia se testa dell'elmo di Scipio, se cinta la testa, dove la vittoria le porta la chioma che schiava di Roma, il Dio la creò. Fratelli d'Italia, l'Italia se testa dell'elmo di Scipio, se cinta la testa, dove la vittoria le porga la chioma, che schiava di Roma, il Dio la creò. Stringiamoci a corte, siamo pronti alla morte, siamo pronti alla morte, l'Italia chiamò. Stringiamoci a corte, siamo pronti alla morte, siamo pronti alla morte, l'Italia chiamò, sì. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light, what so proudly we held, had the bright light stars gleaming, who bright stars and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the rampart we'd watch, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, their bombs were seen in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
What a breathtaking performance of the national anthem. Now, I'm pleased to say it's not only me in the broadcast booth this year. Ferrari ambassador and good friend of mine, Tony Verlander, is joining me for most of the calendar this year. Welcome, Tony. COTA, what a place to start the season.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. This is an amazing track. It has its challenges. So first sector, very good flow, high-speed corners, has some influence from tracks like Suzuka or Silverstone. Slow part, which is understeer, oversteer. You never get the car right, and then very fast, nice flow through the last sector. So it is a big challenge for the teams and drivers to get everything right, driving and setup-wise.
2024, of course, a massive year for the Ferrari Challenge here in North America, not least of which a brand new car, the 296, Tony.
Yeah, we come from an era of 488 Evo, so the expectation was high, but now seeing Thursday, Friday, the drivers coming out from their cars and with a big smile. So I think Ferrari has done a great job with the car. It's very fast. It has features like improved braking, a lot of horsepower. The aerodynamics are impressive on this car. So we've seen the car on track and it really looks amazing.
So you've seen two members of our broadcast team. Of course, there is a third, and she's down there in the hot lane all the time, Shea Adam.
Thank you, Dave. Honored to be on the grid right now for the first round of the Ferrari Challenge North America 2024, where we are debuting this 296 Challenge car. And I wanted to start with our Trofeo Pirelli AM pole sitter, because this young man right here, Matthias Perez-Campagne, put his car what was a good enough time for third on the grid overall, actually technically fourth, because he and Dave Musial 2.0 set the exact same time, but because Dave did it first, meant that Matthias was fourth. But he will be starting back here at the head of the TP-AM grid. Alongside him, Brett Curtis, a man who has a ton of racing experience. He's actually run at Le Mans before in a Ferrari with Scuderia, of course. His car, some damage to it after an off the other day. They managed to get the car repaired, and he is thrilled to be on the grid with this brand new 296. Next row up, though, we've got a couple of very special cars. I want to start with this guy first, because Joe Rubo, this is home for him. Austin is where he loves to hang out. He's got a lake house nearby. His wife, Ashley, his daughter, Danielle. Good luck, Joe, in today's race. Looking for a good result. And alongside him, we've got car number 22. This is an interesting story, because Podalicchio is a name that has been in racing for a very long time. Enzo is the father. He is a world champion. His son, Christian, is going to be racing here today, and we look forward to seeing what Christian can accomplish with a very good team as well. Next row up, a couple of veterans. One to the Ferrari Challenge Series, one to IMSA Racing. I'm going to start with Martin Burrows, because Martin has been in the top three of the championship before. He's won the 458 class. He knows how to go well. Keep an eye on Martin. He will be there or thereabouts for the win today. Different livery on his car than we've seen in the past. And alongside him, one of my longtime friends, Mr. John Bennett. He is a three-time IMSA champion. He's won at just about every single circuit in North America. He knows how to get it done, but Ferrari racing, this is a new challenge for him. So John will be going to battle in this race for the first time, hopefully, for a full season championship. Immediately ahead of him, the next car on the grid, it's a livery we know very, very well. I mentioned 2.0 doing an excellent lap time. Well, Dave Musial managed to get it done. His dad is way further back in the grid in the Trofeo Pirelli AM class, but for 2.0, it's a third place to start out the race today. He's a two-time champion in this series as well. So we're going to have to watch the 31 car. But who else do we have to watch? Well, the car next to him is the 55. That's Roberto Perena. Roberto was third in the championship last year after missing one single race, what could have been. But Roberto is looking for vengeance today. He is going to be a very interested competitor going into turn one because we see all kinds of lines. And hey, why should I tell you what kind of lines we see around this track? Roberto, earlier in the week, was nice enough to take us around Circuit of the Americas.
Hi, my name is Roberto Perena, driver of the number 55 296 Challenge, and I'm going to take you for a lap around Circuit of the Americas. So coming down the front straight, super high speed, getting up to 6th gear, coming under the start-finish tower, and hard brakes here, down to 3rd gear, and rotate the car and get it going. Get back to the left because you've got to get hard back to the right, up onto the curbs if possible. Full throttle here. Try to maintain a lot of throttle through the bridge and into the S's where it's just coast and hold on and get the car turned into turn 6 where it's a little light brake downshift and try to get back on that throttle as quickly as you can. Light brake for 7, make that turn, get back on that throttle really hard. Hard brake for 8 and throttle up the hill, little lift, back onto the throttle as hard as you can get it. And we get going on what I call the back straight, or the medium back straight, into turn 11, which is an uphill brake zone, down to 3rd gear, back onto the throttle as hard as you can. Try to get a really good exit. This is a super long straight. I like to check my emails and have a coffee here if I can. Come all the way down this back straight, 6th gear. This is massive, 170 miles an hour. Down to about the 150, big brake zone, lots of bumps. Down to 3rd gear, again, hard left-hander for 12. And then super hard brake for 13. Back to the apex and try to get as much throttle here as you can, but you're rotating pretty quickly. Hard brake for 15. Settle the car, rotate it, super important, and then back on the throttle as quickly as you can to get back to the left, and then back to the right under the bridge, and it's the carousel. It's just hold on and somewhat pray. And then come into turn 19, which I think is the hardest corner on the track. It's a brake zone downshift and hard left. Very important to get a good launch here into 20, get that brake zone right. Get the downshift down to 3rd, and again, get a good launch onto the front straight because this is a good passing zone into turn 1. And that's a lap of Circuit of the Americas.
Thank you, Roberto. Loving the email and the coffee along the back straight. Yeah, of course. Welcome to the Circuit of the Americas then. This is race 1 for Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli AM drivers out there in these wonderful 296 cars. So looking forward to this race to come this afternoon. What a calendar we have in prospect for 2024. We launch it all here in Texas. Then we head off to California. It's Laguna Seca. Then, of course, supporting Formula One in Montreal. Then it's Watkins Glen International, followed by Sonoma Raceway, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and then, of course, the glittering finale mondiale to come in the middle of October in Imola, in Tuscany, in Italy. What an event that will be. So we're here, of course, in COTA, and what an area this is. Absolutely brimming with stuff to really be enjoyed. And this COTA track is, forgive the pun, something of a challenge for our drivers, and made up of various sections, some of which are technical, some of which not so. But to get it absolutely nailed perfectly, it is the most rewarding track for a racing driver to get nailed. And many of them plan to do that across its 20 turns this afternoon as the Ferrari 296 takes to the track for the very first time in competition. Track temperature 31 degrees, the air temperature 26, the humidity is 74%, and a little bit of wind around 22 kilometers per hour. It's been cloudy and overcast pretty much the whole day. And actually, it stayed dry. I'm thrilled that Tony Villander is alongside me all calendar long and all year long. Tony, new car, brilliant track. Everything is set for what could be an awesome season.
Yeah, we've seen excellent action throughout the practice, going to this morning's qualifying. Now the big excitement is turn one. What is going to happen at the start? There's a lot of excitement that is building during the preseason, and opening race of the season is always a big. Drivers are even nervous coming into the first start of the season. Somehow during the year you get into the rhythm, so the race starts itself doesn't get you so excited or so nervous anymore, but the season opening is always one thing.
And with a brand new car, which earlier on Tony found out just a little bit more about the 296.
Hello everyone, my name is Tony Villander. I've been with Ferrari as a works driver for the last 18 years. But this weekend we are in COTA for the Ferrari Challenge North America. And we have a brand new car to show you, 296 Challenge. And let's go and find out some comments from the drivers. Okay, we are here with Dylan and he has the first laps on his belt with the 296 Challenge car. Can you share a little bit the general feeling of the new car?
The general feeling of the new 296 car, it feels much more like a race car, as they said it was built from a 296 GT3 car. So as you can tell, it's a lot more aerodynamic, and around the track it feels like it grips a lot more, especially in the corners.
For the driver, it's always very exciting to get into the new car. So when you were doing those first laps, what was the impression?
I had the biggest smile on my face. The second we got out of pit lane, the second I stepped on the throttle, my grin was massive. Just an amazing, amazing feeling.
We are here with Lisa Clark, and we know that you take your racing very seriously. This year, brand new car, first impressions on the 296 Challenge.
Wow, it's quite an amazing car. Definitely, you got to keep up with the horsepower with it, and especially on the turn-ins entry. It's amazing. Really enjoying it, and yeah, just trying to learn as much as I can before this weekend.
Is the car handling really differently compared to the 488?
I would say it definitely handles differently in certain ways. You know, it's great on braking. I'm fine on that. I think for me, it's just exiting and realizing the speed that carries, especially in the rear, and just trying to stay on top of that is kind of my challenge over here.
So Jeff, I was there last year in Finale Mugello when you won your first race ever, but now it's another thing, the new 296 Challenge car. So how is the work progressing?
So it's a completely different car. There's really nothing familiar with the other than they're both Ferraris with the car. But this car, the brake is brake by wire, so you have to be different on the brakes. It's more downforce, more horsepower, wider tires. Just a very exciting car to drive.
We know here in COTA the track is a Formula One Grand Prix level. Which is the parts of the track that are impressing you the most with this new car?
Well, the car sticks in every turn. So, you know, I've been struggling a little bit in the mechanical grip turns just to deal with the car, because the car's so much better than I am.
And what is your prediction for the weekend? More wins coming this season?
Well, you know, that's always the goal, Tony. I want to win a lot. So, you know, we don't do this to come in second place.
All right, good luck for the weekend.
I have to say, Tony, when you see a smile on every racing driver's face, Ferrari have got it right, haven't they?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, to see the drivers so happy, so looking forward to every session, every qualifying, every race. So a great step forward with this new 296 Challenge.
Thank you, Tony. Of course, Ferrari Challenge race weekend is about so much more than just the racing. And Shay has been into hospitality for us.
At the end of every Ferrari Challenge weekend, this is the place where you want to wind up. Top step of the podium. It's where every driver aims to finish. And the friends and family can hang out here too. We've got a great seating area and a big screen. But there's an even better place to watch the racing on track. Let's go explore Ferrari hospitality. Welcome to the very exclusive Ferrari hospitality. As you can tell right now, things are a little bit calm because we haven't quite started the lunch rush yet, but this is the top of exclusivity. You come in here, you are treated to world-class chefs. There's drinks aplenty if you're feeling like champagne, maybe a little bit of tequila, but there's so much more to it than just the food and the drinks that you can get. There's shopping as well. If you feel like finding something new, your style is found in Ferrari hospitality. There's even a spa, and I haven't even shown you the best part yet, because when cars are on track, there is no better place to be. Just look at this view.
How amazing that Shea managed to find the shopping. Why does that not surprise me? Cars are lining up on the track. As you can see, we're about to get the first race of the 2024 calendar underway. But for those of you that are joining us perhaps for the first time, if you'd like to find out a bit more about the Ferrari Challenge, here's our guide for you. The Ferrari Challenge is the preeminent and largest single-make GT series in North America. Announced in 1992 and on track in North America in 94, it is also the longest-running single-make series on the continent. The series was made for drivers who are passionate about Ferraris and enjoying them in their natural environment on the racetrack. The North American series has 5 different classes: Trofeo Pirelli, Trofeo Pirelli Am, Copa Shell Am, and for Ferrari's previous model, the 488 Challenge Evo, which will also run in a dedicated race group. The Trofeo Pirelli classes are home for drivers with a bit more experience, while the Copa Shell classes are for the newer drivers. The Copa Shell Am class is specifically for drivers who just came through the renowned Corsa Pilota driver training program. The 488 Challenge Evo class is for those drivers using the previous generation race car. The series races on the most iconic and challenging circuits in North America, and in 2024 will compete at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Laguna Seca, Montreal, Watkins Glen, Sonoma Raceway, and Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Tony, Ferrari Challenge has been around a long time. There's a reason for that, isn't there? It's brilliant.
It's a brilliant platform to drivers that are building up their career, and the target is probably to be in the GT racing, but also for drivers with the status that maybe have been more in the business life and later on they have discovered racing throughout Corsa Pilota or with the passion towards Ferrari. So this is a great platform for many different approaches toward racing.
And it's great to see such a great mix of drivers. And down there, in and amongst them, is Shea Adam.
Can't help myself, guys. Nice comment about finding the shopping. Don't think I'll forget that one, Dave. We've got our front row in position after doing that recon lap. Didn't mention them in the grid walk earlier on, but we have Dylan Medler and our pole sitter, Jason McCarthy. These two guys will be the ones to keep an eye on straight off the start. But further back in the field is Chris Cagnazzi. Chris only ran 4 races last year, but he won 2 of them. And earlier this week, we caught up with him. Well, Chris, you've got a lot of experience driving a lot of different cars. How does this 296 stack up to what you've driven in the past?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. I've seen the evolution from the 458 Evo, then the 488, then to Evo. This car is a pleasure to drive. A huge improvement around braking, comfort, feel. They've done a fantastic job with that.
What excites you most about strapping in behind the wheel of this car and getting to push that button and turning it on?
Yeah, I think it's the acceleration, when you get in a race car, and Ferrari particularly is close to my heart, but when you get in the car and you put that throttle down and you hear that engine noise, the joy it's overwhelming, to be perfectly honest with you. But I think what I love about it is the consistency of how it feels, how it handles, and how it gives you feedback. In particular, 296, I think, they've done a real good job with it.
It is a real sense of every emotion, Tony, this car and this racing experience.
Yeah, it is true. With this car, Ferrari really looked down to the aerodynamics, to the comfort, and the feeling that the driver has with the car on track. So improved braking, a lot of new technology on the car. So it's been a thing to discover for the teams, but also for the drivers to adapt a little bit their driving style and get the most out of this race car. And I think the teams in general a little bit starting point setup wise and everything. They done a limited amount of testing, and now the season starts. I think there's a margin of improvement for everything. So it's exciting to see even during the season which team gets an upper hand, and even with the drivers who gets even more confidence with the car.
Going to be very interesting, as you make the very good point there, to see how that develops during the course of the season, both from a team's perspective and also, of course, from a driver's perspective. And we're about to see the very first parts of that development, if you like, get underway, because the cars are almost champing at the bit to get going. And it's a big, big grid of cars as well, the Pirelli and Pirelli Am cars that we have mixed up together here. Some 24 cars out there on track, so lots of racing to come. And what a wonderful car this is, and very much looking forward to seeing how the drivers get the max out of these cars in a racing environment. So that's the way it looks then, and we're standing by for the 30-minute race to come. Let's go back now down onto the track, and as I mentioned, in the hot seat is Shea Adam.
And it is time, for the first time in 2024, drivers, start your Ferrari engines.
Well, they roar into life, and now, Tony, this is when the adrenaline begins to pump. As a racing driver, how does it feel at this moment? You're starting the engine. Everything is done and dusted. Nothing more can be done. You're left alone on that grid. Is it a lonely place? Is it a place where you're occupied with so much thinking about strategy, how you plan the race ahead?
Yeah, there's a lot of preparation before the start of the race. It's been measured and studied a lot, what goes through driver's mind and body, and this is the moment where you're the most excited. The heartbeat is not the highest, but is relatively high. Also a lot of studies with the videos, previous starts with your coaches, where to stay in the first corner, inside, outside. It's a very wide corner, like we can see, breaking up the hill into turn one. You can even go 4 wide. That often doesn't end really well. There's a lot of runoff area, exit of turn one, but overall the start itself is very exciting.
Very much so. Exciting. That's the word to use. Hold on to anything that might be loose-fitting, because we are about to go racing. And as you can see, the safety car leading the cars away. Always a rolling start in the Ferrari Challenge. Making the way downhill now. Quite undulating, this COTA circuit. And sometimes, Tony, the television pictures don't necessarily show us just how undulating this track is.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of elevation changes. The highest point is turn one. After turn one, going down the hill, the S's. You can talk Mackett's and Beckett's, Silverstone, but even at the start, this first sector is very crucial, and stay clean at the start.
So McCarthy goes for pole with Dylan Medler, and then it's Dave Musial 2.0, Roberto Perina and John Bennett before we find Martin Burrows. There he is, having posted a time of 2:05.922. So the next row of the grid, we find Christian Podolicchio and Joe Rubo. They share that row. It's row 4 of our starting grid. Then it's Brett Curtis and the best of the Trofeo Pirelli Am drivers, Matias Perez Compact. Going to be a danger man, I can tell you. As we continue through the Pirelli Am starting grid, David Musial and Brian Cook, then both having had a pretty stout qualifying, if I'm honest with you. Brian Kaminsky and Tony Davis then, they go from P13 and P14 respectively, and then it is Brad Falver and Sebastian Mascaro. They go from P15 and P16, completing the 8th row of our Ferrari Challenge grid. Next is John Horsch and Chris Cagnazzi, who we heard from earlier on. They are P17 and P18. It's row 9 for them. And as we get to row 10 of our Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli grid, we find Brandon Cruz and Michael Mathis. To the 11th row of our grid, and it's P21 and P22 for Benoit Bergeron and Frank Chang. And then to the back of the pack, which occupies row 12 of our Trofeo Pirelli grid, we find Ben Godenzi and Jay Logan. That's the way the starting grid looks for the very first race of the Ferrari Challenge North America for 2024 with this awesome 296 machine, and just the colors of the drivers have designed across these cars. They are utterly, utterly beautiful. Wandering around the paddock, just works of art to be enjoyed and admired. But of course, the true beauty of this car is when it's out there on the racing circuit. And we are but a few moments away from race 1 getting underway. As Tony has mentioned, the climb up to turn number 1. And As he says, you can go almost 4 abreast there. It possibly wouldn't end terribly well, and none of us knows how the start is going to play out, Tony, and that's what makes this beautiful sport of ours so exciting.
Yeah, drivers need to be really ready to react when the safety car is out and the leaders start to accelerate. So it's important to keep your own position on the right row and the correct distances to the other cars. So start itself, you really need to be awake. One of the crucial moments of the race.
So the cars all line up in grid formation then behind the safety car, and once race controller absolutely happy with the way that the cars are lined up, then the safety car will peel off as it has done, and we go side by side formation then around the final turn, and then it is towards the lighting gantry. And for the Ferrari Challenge North America, we are about to get the greens. We throw 2 pictures for you. Great value here, so you can see the start from the starter's rostrum and also what the cars are looking like down there as we get the greens. Let's go racing 2024 style. Absolutely side by side going in towards turn number 1 as they climb up the hill. All of that tarmac being used there. Our fingers are crossed, everything held together to make sure all the cars get through turn number 1 relatively unscathed. And I think they did. Brilliant driving from all of our Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli Am drivers who made it through that first turn and the run downhill. But a brilliant start from Dylan Medler for the collection, who got the jump on Jason McCarthy. And you can see there that 2.0 is trying to make moves as well as we get this race underway. Bear in mind, this is the opening lap up to P3 for Dave Musial Jr. And he's coming under pressure, though, from Roberto Perina. There's no question about that. So we'll see what potentially can happen here. Dave Musial Jr. back down to P4 now as Martin Burrows. Shea alluded to the fact that Martin is going to be one to watch from the very start of this race. Martin Burrows certainly has moved up the order. They go side by side now, climbing uphill as we catch them here. What a great shot this is, giving you some idea of just how quick these cars are. Look at this, almost 3 abreast then in the Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli as they brake and brake and brake for the left-hander. Just a little bit of a love tap there perhaps on one of the cars, but everyone unscathed and coming through relatively all okay. So this the very early stages of this race, and of course there you can see now track limits always going to be potentially something of an issue here, and Martin Burrows certainly making sure that he can use every single piece of tarmac. I can see on the Martin Burrows car, is that part of the splitter there, Tony?
Yeah, I think there was a slight contact, so his splitter has opened a little bit. There's a piece of the splitter on the left-hand side of the car that you can see on the picture. I think the start from the front 2-row cars was pretty clean. Yep. There was more battle going forward from the row 3, and this is the group where is the biggest battle. I think Matthias Kompach didn't have a good start. He lost a few places, and he hasn't been super aggressive at the start. So let's see how this young driver gets his race going and maybe possibly overtake a few places back.
Well, it was an awesome start from Dylan Medler, who's already beginning to really stretch his legs now over Jason McCarthy, and then Roberto Perina then running in P3. You were absolutely right in that Compact did not get the start he wanted, and he has been usurped right at the start of the race by Brian Cook, who is leading in Trofeo Pirelli Am. And then it's Dave Musial who's running P3 in Trofeo Pirelli Am, but he's got 2 Trofeo Pirelli cars ahead of him as well to try and get past before he can make any moves on Matthias Compact and Brian Cook. So Dylan Medler leading the way then, and as I say, has broken out something of a margin over Jason McCarthy and Roberto Perina already. And once you've got the lead of the race, Tony, is that your strategy? Get your foot down and try and build as big a margin as you can between yourself and your competitors.
Yeah, after a race start like this by the leaders, then it's down to the pure pace of the race. How does your car take the stretch from the whole race distance? Mainly the tires. Where's the tire pressures at? How much you're taking on from the tires early on to the race? So now is the second place driver McCarthy trying to catch up with the leaders, and now the distance is 1.3 seconds, so definitely he cannot let that gap to increase.
Martin Burrows beginning to come under a bit of pressure here. Now, what impact is that going to have necessarily on, I would say, not much, because he's got Brian Cook now right on him. Now, Brian Cook, of course, is in a different class. Incidentally, Trofeo Pirelli drivers have the red strip across the top of the windscreen. the Trofeo Pirelli Am drivers have the white strip. Now, for Brian Cook, what he's trying to do is break away, of course, from Matthias Perez Compact, and he's got the Martin Burrows car sitting right in front of him, and he needs to get by that if he possibly can, so that he can build himself a cushion of a Trofeo Pirelli car between himself and the next best Trofeo Pirelli Am driver. Sorry, I was asking you a question I didn't let you answer. What impact might that have on Martin Burrows' car, just the fact that splitter has just broken a little bit?
Yeah, if there is something to upset the car, it mainly happens at the high speed, where you need the most aero balance of the car. Slow speed corners, I feel less, but it can affect the car a little bit on the lap time, but mainly on the longer distance. So doing the whole race distance, the balance is upset a little bit, and that's not good for the tire wear and other stuff on the race car.
This is the battle that we're watching at the moment, is for P4 currently. Now, doing the chasing is Dave Musial 2.0, Dave Musial Jr., who's really putting it on Joe Rubo at the moment. Roberto Perina, of course, running in P3. These two cars that we're looking at now are P4 and P5, and this is a big battle that is going on. And Dave Musial 2.0 then, the junior driver of the two. Of course, Dave Musial, his father, is running P3 at the moment in Trofeo Pirelli Am. So he's just trying to suss out here where is going to be maybe an opportunity for him to try and put a pass on Joe Rubo. And, well, they are breaking away just a little bit from the rest of the pack, which includes John Bennett and Martin Burrows, and, of course, then Brian Cook and Matthias Compact. Good overtaking places here at COTA, Tony?
Yeah, going into turn 1, definitely a place to overtake. Then all these tight hairpins. So breaking into turn 11, Tilke design track, let's say around 2010. So the track becomes really wide. So breaking into 11 and 12, those are the main places to overtake.
Well, at the moment, Brian Cook has not been able to find a way past Martin Burrows. And Martin doing a very, very good job, running P7 in the race overall. That's P7 in Trofeo Pirelli. Right behind him is the yellow and red colours of Brian Cook. Then it is Matthias Compact that we are watching. They're running P8 and P9 in the race, but it is the battle that is going on for P1 and P2 in Trofeo Pirelli Am, because they have the white strips across the top of the windscreen. For the moment, Brian Cook appears to have the measure of Compact, and it will just be interesting to see, bearing in mind we've only had, 6.5 minutes of the race. There's still plenty of racing to come, and I have to say, now that was a big, bold move. What happened there, Tony?
The image got very late, but I do hope not that there was a contact. It looked something that happened under braking, and little race of aggression between these two drivers. So let's see if we get a replay of the turn 1, if there was a contact around the braking area.
Well, there's certainly plenty going on there. It's Jason McCarthy and Roberto Perina absolutely side by side, trading different parts of the tarmac consistently here.
Yeah, McCarthy's car looks to be really wild, really oversteer. It almost looked like there's an issue with the car, so maybe that's something that caught him breaking into turn 1, but he did almost the whole first sector sideways, every corner. So let's see if there's an issue with the Jason's car.
We're riding on board with Jason McCarthy right now. Jason McCarthy is currently running in P2. Now, of course, those riders ahead of him, Dylan Medler has really escaped up the road. And now Jason McCarthy appears to be able to put something of a gap on Roberto Perina. So I think you're absolutely right, because Perina now is coming under some pressure from Joe Rubo, who's running P4. Now, of course, if both Rubo and Musial Jr. Can spot an ailing driver ahead of them, of course, they're going to do everything they can to try and find a way by. Now, as Roberto Perina is trying to line him up, you can see that Dave Musial 2.0 is taking a look as well. Let's take a look at that replay, Tony. Let's see what happened here.
Yeah, so approaching into turn 1, I think was just a really late move from Perina, and that surprised a little bit McCarthy, and both cars braking so late. There is some bumps on the racetrack that maybe upset the race car in the braking, so that caused that they both overshot the corner a bit. We need to remember that these cars have done plenty of testing, but this is the first time in a real racing action, close to other cars. What happens with the aero balance, what happens with the setup and everything. Practicing is one thing, racing is another.
Is Perina close enough now to have a go on Jason McCarthy into turn number 1? He wasn't quite close enough and almost behind. There was a carbon copy as Dave Musial Jr. was certainly close enough, I thought, to Joe Rubo to have a go.
And with all this fighting, the leader Medler has now opened the gap close to 5.5 seconds. So all this fight has really benefited the race leader.
Of course, because as they're fighting, they're not as quick as they could be. And I tell you what, Jason McCarthy's rear view screen is absolutely full of the Roberto Perina car here. So McCarthy is having to drive, I'm not going to say defensively, but he's having to make sure that he positions the car absolutely perfectly, Tony, to prevent from Perina having a go at coming through here and taking that P2 position away from Jason McCarthy.
Yeah, looks like Jason with the blue car number 11 is really fighting his race car. He's driving it a little bit over the limit, and the sideways movement we can see is not the best and the fastest way to go, and we still have some distance to go also. We've done barely 10 minutes of racing, so there's still 2/3 to go.
Yes, absolutely. And conservation of both the car and the tyres, of course, as here comes a potential overtake. Then, you can see the car getting very, very lively under braking there, but speed scrubbed off. And Matthias Kompank then and Brian Cook side by side. This is for the lead in the Trofeo Pirelli Am race, and I have to say Cook has lost out on that P1. That was a bold move by Kompank, but he sent it. He knew he wanted to do it there, Tony.
Yeah, that was a very determined but clean overtaking. And also looking at Matthias's driving, he looks pretty calm, so that's a good way to go for this race distance. So it's interesting to see his pace now for the last 20 minutes. I mean, the 20 minutes we have to go to the checkered flag, because looks like he's really taking care of the tires and no extra movements, and he doesn't really fight the steering wheel.
Minimize the movements, keep it smooth if you possibly can, and already you can see that he's broken away a little bit from Brian Cook. And here comes Roberto Perina once again on Jason McCarthy into turn number 1. McCarthy, well, he seemed to be a bit wide there, opened up the door potentially to Roberto Perina. Now Jason McCarthy right royally closes the door once again, and Roberto Perina, that may have been perhaps his best opportunity, but of course he probably lost a little bit more speed because he was rotating tighter, Tony, and that of course costs you some speed. Of course it plays into the hands also of both Joe Rubo and Dave Musial Jr. right behind as well. And Jason McCarthy then with an abject lesson in really defensive driving here and not being upset or bothered by Roberto Perina right behind him. And you know what, if you welded these two cars together, Tony, they couldn't be much closer.
Yeah, so far we had clean racing, but Jason's pace is not the strongest. That is creating now what is a 5-car group, and when there's more cars together, that's the thing when always it gets more exciting, and now the patience is the key. If you have the place, overtake, but don't lose your patience.
Don't lose your patience then. Here comes Roberto Perina then just taking a look at the inside of Jason McCarthy. Jason goes to turn in, but the gap he wants to turn into is full of 296 wide Roberto Perina, and of course that opens up a hole to allow Joe Rubo to go through as well. So Jason McCarthy, having done such a steadfast job of defending his position, and Tony, you're right, he's seesawing at the wheel.
Yeah, this is the tricky part with the mechanical grip. Really slow speed corners where you use a lower gear, so the engine response is really aggressive. But you can see Jason is fighting for the lack of grip, mainly on the rear of the car, and he's really counter-steering and fighting the steering wheel. So we can already see that the drivers that were able to overtake him are pulling away.
So that proves the point then, and incidentally, Dylan Medler is some 7 seconds up the road of everyone else now. So Jason McCarthy, having been passed, is Dave Musial 2.0 going to have a go? Going in towards turn number 1, he's seemingly lining the car up, and bear in mind that John Bennett is there as well. So as they run into turn number 1, and you're absolutely right, Tony Verlander, it's so bumpy, and Musial there getting just a little bit sideways, but holding onto the car nicely. And now they've got past the, dare I say it, the cork in the bottle that was Jason McCarthy. Both Perina and Rubo are up the road relatively, so absolutely they've got the pace. Let's ride on board here, and it gives you a brilliant driver's perspective of what it's like inside this Ferrari 296 Challenge car. taking as much of the curb as you dare, and you can almost feel the vibrations of the curbs through the car there. We ride on board with Jason McCarthy, who of course is now running in P4, and as I mentioned, you could see now through the windscreen of Jason McCarthy's car just how quickly Perina and Ruba have been able to take advantage, and the pace advantage they have. There is no doubt about it that Jason doesn't have the pace that those two have in front of him.
Yeah, if the car is mechanically okay, it must have been a tire pressure issue or even a setup thing where he really had the pace for qualifying, but as soon as this race started, he's been struggling with the grip and the car balance in general. So let's see how Jason's race ends up, but even the drivers behind him are really, and the group is really catching up to him, so same effect as before.
They're queuing up now, aren't they? Incidentally, just make mention of the fact that Joe Rubo, where he started on the grid, he's now running P3, a brilliant showing from Joe Rubo. So we continue to watch this that is going on now. Jason McCarthy is running P4. Right behind him, he has got Dave Musial 2.0. Then it's Bennett. Then it is Burrows. Before you get into the P1 and P2 in the Trofeo Pirelli Am drivers, which is Matthias Kompak and Brian Cook. So I have to say I'm full of admiration, Tony, for Jason McCarthy, who for whatever reason doesn't necessarily seem to have the pace of some of the others, but he's, for lap after lap after lap, he's able to position the car absolutely perfectly and therefore hold on to the place that he's got.
Yeah, great fighting spirit. He's not giving up an inch on the racetrack, but you can see that again he's overshooting the corner going into turn 1, so he's either overdriving the car or he has some sort of an issue grip wise. Even now we could see a little smoke from the tires, so he's on the limit of the ABS and he's really trying to fight the race car all the time. So
well, Dave Musial able to go through, and Dave Musial now is beginning to open up a gap as well as we ride back on board with Jason, who is really having to fight here. Jason McCarthy, very, very experienced Ferrari Challenge driver, and just in the background, did we hear a car going around, Tony? It sounded like a tyre squealing protest.
Yes, it did. So there was 2 red cars behind this Jason's group that had a tight moment going into turns 7 and 8. So let's see if we can get a picture if there was an actual contact or somebody ended up spinning.
Okay, well, we ride on board with Jason McCarthy and throw the other shot to the left-hand side of your screen as well. And let's take a look here then as Dave Musial 2.0 then is getting up the road, running in that P4 position now. So there is McCarthy continuing to hold on and try and maximise what he can out of this for whatever reason. Dropping down the order, and he's being able to hold on to his place for as long as possible. And of course, you know, he's not going to gift an overtake opportunity to any other driver. If you want to come by, you've got to find a way by. That's his answer, and quite rightly as well. The order is Dylan Medler from Roberto Perina and Joe Rubo, the top 3 in Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli Am. It's Matthias Kompak, Brian Cook, and Dave Musial. That's the way it looks in each of the categories at the moment.
Yeah, let's see the timing and scoring, because what I see is Kompak is now behind McCarthy. So let's see if the timing and scoring updates now. So because like we hear the sound of the spinning car, so let's see how it updates. But
well, the Dylan Medler team are pretty happy the way things are looking at the moment, and
because suddenly Kompak went up the order.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Big good spot there. So Dylan Medler, Roberto Perina, Joe Rubo, the 1, 2, 3. And Dylan Medler then, he's got a relatively...
We lost Barros.
Martin, so that was one of the red cars that you were talking about. Absolutely, as Dylan puts the fastest lap in, a 2:06. So Dylan Medler, obviously, well, of course, he's got a clear track ahead of him, Tony, isn't he? Or he's got nothing to worry about other than just looking at the tarmac ahead of him and nailing every apex and getting this track absolutely perfectly. This is before we see P2 and P3, which is Roberto Perina and Joe Rubo. And then it's Dave Musial Jr. that you can see here in P4, and then Jason McCarthy, and then it's Podolicchio, Curtis, Bennett, Burrows. That's the way it looks in Pirelli because of the red colour scheme you can see on the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen. Bennett, in fact, has had to come into the pit lane, so problem for Bennett and the Foreign Cars Italia 296 in Right, let's pick up on what else is happening throughout the course of this race. So much going on. Where's the first 20 minutes of this race gone? It is Compact from Cook, from Musial, then it's Mascaro, Falva, Kaminsky, Horsch and Cagnazzi running P8 in class at the moment. And you can see the John Horsch car. There's Chris Cagnazzi. So the 296 sounding and looking absolutely brilliant out there on track. The number 67 car, as I mentioned, the all-black machine of John Horsch with Brian Kaminsky right ahead of him. And there you can see the sort of lime green-black colour scheme of the Kaminsky car. There it is, centre shot right now. And so for Kaminsky currently running P6 in Trofeo Pirelli Am. John Horsch is P7, then Chris Cagnazzi is running P8. So quite rightly, we've been taking a look at the battles that have been going on, but wherever you look throughout the pack of Ferrari Challenge cars, there is plenty going on, that's for sure. First time, of course, in the Ferrari Challengers now. Here comes Jason McCarthy under renewed pressure. And this, of course, is Compact, who is trying to find his way past Jason McCarthy. So the red strip across the top of the windscreen of Jason McCarthy's car indicates that he is a Trofeo Pirelli driver. The cars behind are Pirelli AMs, with the exception of Podolicchio.
And this is the thing now, Matthias Perez Compact leading the Pro-Am class, but now he's opened up a chance for the second place driver, Cook, to catch up again. So the 2.5 second margin that Perez Compact had is now gone, and he needs to overtake McCarthy to keep his race rhythm the way it was, because this is...
I could almost predict that happening. Yeah, so Matthias was on the inside, and then Jason McCarthy went to turn into that, and of course the gap he wanted to turn into was full of the car. So that could change the shape of this, because all of a sudden Brian Cook and Christian Podolicchio have been able to go by. So I would suggest, Tony, some damage to the number 50 car of Matthias Compact.
Yeah, Matthias is slowing down. He had the inside line going into 11, but maybe a little bit of lack of determination in the braking. He left the margin, he left the space for McCarthy to defend deeper, so that created the contact at the apex turning point of the corner. So unfortunate situation for both of the drivers.
Motor racing, of course, is beautiful, but it's going to be oh so brutal as well, Tony. And we'll take a look at that in replay. Here it is. How do we call this?
Yeah, so breaking into 11, Matthias was already looking for the chance because he had a very tight line. They're both side by side, but then he tried to escape from the situation. McCarthy braking, Jason braking deeper. Then Matthias tried to avoid the contact, but was too late. He had the nose in, and Jason turned in, so turning into turn 11, so was too late to disappear from the inside line for Matthias Perez Compact.
You can't make your car disappear, can you?
No, not really. And the issue started side by side, and then from the outside, Jason McCarthy had a deeper braking point, so that created the situation. Staying side by side, going to the apex, Matthias would have been a winner, and maybe a little door-to-door contact, and both drivers continuing like this.
We've got a full course yellow, Tony. Forgive me interrupting you. So we have got a full course yellow. I was just about to say that for the Ferrari of Seattle driver, Brian Cook is leading in Trofeo Pirelli Am, now ahead of Dave Musial. Now Compact was still on the graphics as showing as P3, but I can assure you he isn't. He's further down the order than that then as our timing catches up. So full course yellow then. There you can see the full course yellow flags having been waved. Dylan Medler, Roberto Perina, Joe Rubo, the top three in Trofeo Pirelli. Now, of course, Dylan Medler had built up an enormous lead. I think you can see it quicker than I can, Tony, or clearer than I can. I think it's some 8.7 seconds. That's the reason then for the full course yellow, and that regrettably is, I think that's the Cadenzi car that is out. From that angle, it's almost a job for me to tell, but I'm pretty sure that is the number 25 Ben Gudenzi Foreign Cars Italia car, and the safety car has been called for, Tony. So thanks for pointing that out to me. Here comes the safety car then, about to peel off into or out of the pit lane and onto the track as well. Okay, so clock continues to count down, and there is Brian Cook. So what have we got left on the clock? Just over 6 minutes, plus a lap, of course, the Ferrari Challenge North America.
Yeah, with the safety car, there's always winners and losers. So Medler having led the race from the start and really pulled away a huge gap.
Lead. Yeah.
So now it's up to the marshals how quickly they can recover the car, take it outside the racing line or outside the track, and if there's going to be a restart. Sometimes safety cars bring more safety cars, but
yes.
Hopefully we get this sorted quickly, and maybe we get 1 or 2 race laps, but it will be a tough operation for the marshals.
Yes, it will, and you know, around the world, wherever we race, and of course the Ferrari Challenge has got regions all around the world, but you know, the marshals and the recovery crews, they all work so very hard on behalf of us who all enjoy our sport, and they will do everything they can. But it's a tall order when you've only got 5 minutes plus a lap remaining on the clock to get everything recovered in time. So there, a beautiful shot of the number 29 car of Sebastian Mascaro, then the Ferrari of Central Florida driver that we were looking at there. As you made the point, Dylan Medler is the big loser in this because he'd built up a huge margin over Roberto Perina. And dare I say it, Tony, probably Dylan Medler will be thinking, I hope this finishes behind the safety car, because all of a sudden, you know, he's got competition.
Yeah, but he still needs to be awake. He needs to keep the car on the racing line, not to collect too much rubber on the tires, and keep everything ready, because normally race director in Ferrari Challenge around the world, they go pretty quickly. The race is 30 minutes, so they want to get the race back to green as soon as possible. So the call for safety car into the pits might even happen quite late. So the leading cars must be ready for everything, all the calls that are happening, and you cannot relax before you see the checkered flag.
No, you've got to have that sense of anticipation and expectation, haven't you? You've got to be on your mettle. You're right. Dylan Medler from Roberto Perina, Joe Rubo. The top 3 in Trofeo Pirelli. For Pirelli Am, it's Brian Cook from Dave Musial and Compact then. I'm just looking at my timing screen. P4 Mascaro, P5 Falva, then it's Kaminsky. I'm talking about the Trofeo Pirelli Am drivers. There on the left-hand side of your screen, the graphics, and it's got a red bar with the position number. That means it's a Trofeo Pirelli driver. If it's got a white bar, it is a Pirelli Am driver. So to my mind then, as they have done a couple of laps, Tony, the Compact has managed to keep it going. So that's good to see. Right. Looks like they're backing up now. Lights are off on the safety car, I think.
Yeah, so quick reactions like we were anticipating, and we go back to green. So this will be a very quick, very short sprint towards the checkered flag. And now it's up to the leader to decide the pace a little bit, where to accelerate. He needs to do it by the rule book, and also cover the turn 1, not to leave any margin, any place for Perina to challenge him for the lead. So another critical moment for this 30-minute race.
Yes, it's going to be a short dash for cash, as they say, to the checkered flag. As you say, it's Dylan Medler's responsibility to control the pace of the restart. But as I understand the rules, Tony, when Dylan decides to give it 100% on the loud pedal, he has to stay committed to that. You can't accelerate, decelerate, accelerate, decelerate. You've got to go.
Yeah, we cannot do Formula 1 China with Lance Stroll. So once you go on the throttle, you need to keep going.
Thank you so much, Mr. Verlander. Right. So, stand by, hold on to everything. The safety car has peeled off into the pit lane. We are ready to go back to racing again. and it is going to be Medler, Perina, and Rubo going into turn number 1. This is going to be pretty exciting. Here comes the green. Flag flying. Let's go back to racing then. Ferrari Challenge here in North America. As the cars will all head up towards the top of the hill right now. For my money, it looked like Dylan Medler did a very good job on that restart because it didn't allow Robert Perina to get too close to him. And it's as we were then, and Dylan Medler then escaping up the road as best he can. Brian Cook, well, there is the Brian Cook car now with Dave Musial right up his trumpet to be fair here. So where's Dave Musial going to have a go here on Brian Cook? So let's see. So Cook is in the yellow and red colours. Dave Musial behind in the mix of purple and black. And they look certainly closer than Medler and Perina for my money. So this is going to be quite interesting to watch, I would have thought. So there they can see here are the P1 and P2 in Trofeo Pirelli Am. As I say, the yellow car here of Brian Cook. And then Dave Musial right behind him then. There's just 40 seconds left on the clock as nearest makes no difference. So it is, as I mentioned, a real flight of fancy towards the checkered flag now for our drivers. Medler, Perina and Rubo then the 1, 2, 3 in Trofeo Pirelli. In Pirelli Am, it is Cook and Musial, and there they are in the P1 and P2 positions at the moment. Heavy braking. Dave Musial gaining just a couple of meters under braking there. He was later on the brakes and was able to get the car rotated and held on to that. But for both of the category leaders, Tony, I would have said they did the restart pretty well.
Yeah, it was a clean restart, and they covered the other drivers really well. Good moment also for the race leader to accelerate more or less at the apex of turn 20, so you don't leave a lot of chances for the other drivers to overtake or get a chance or good slipstream on the main straight. So good clean restart.
We are heading towards the checkered flag, and to Dylan Medler then, and a piece of Ferrari history then as he takes the first win for the 296 car in Ferrari Challenge. Dylan Medler crosses the line to take P1 ahead of Roberto Perina and Joe Rubo, and Dave Musial Jr. For the Trofeo Pirelli Am drivers, it is Brian Cook that is the winner ahead of Dave Musial. Then it is Mascaro, and as I thought, Compact was dropping way down the order then. So many congratulations to Dylan Medler and to Brian Cook, respectively, for taking the first class wins in the 296 cars. Brilliant job done, and there you can see the celebrations going on down there in the paddock as well. And, well, Dylan Medler, he had so much to lose, truthfully, through that full course yellow initially and then the safety car, but he just, when he needed to, and got that safety car restart nailed perfectly. Dylan Medler doing a very good job there. So, dare I say it, as is often the case, Tony Verlander with Ferrari Challenge, quite some drama.
Yeah, but we actually had a quite clean two-thirds of the race, but then we had some drama after the last 10 minutes of the race. We did get a full course yellow, which then inverted to safety car restart, but was also quite clean. There was few contacts, but overall I think this first ever 296 Challenge race was great to see, and deserved winner is Dylan Medler.
They say, Tony, that rubbing is racing. Sorry. I had to say that. Absolutely awesome. Great driving and respectful driving. I have to a big shout out to Jason McCarthy, who quite clearly, this man, look, taking P6 under enormous pressure for what reason we do not know. But he was defending his position, but doing it in a fair way, and driving what appeared to be a car that wasn't performing to the best of its abilities, and to bring it home where he did, I think is very creditable.
Yeah, for a driver, you can sense, you can feel that there's a lack of performance, and that sometimes creates almost like a desperate feeling, because you know you don't have a pace and you have more than 20 minutes to go. So McCarthy was defending well, but he was struggling either with the tires or performance in general. So he was driving the car very hard, just trying to keep his position in the race.
Yes, fair play to him. So well done. We'll bring you confirmation of the results just as soon as we can. As people look on from the observation tower, here they are then. Confirmation of Dylan Medler taking the win from Roberto Perina and Joe Rubo, the top three in Trofeo Pirelli. Then it was David Musial Jr., P4, Christian Podolicchio, P5. Best of the AM drivers, Brian Cook. Then it was Dave Musial. Then it was Mascaro taking P3 ahead of Kaminsky, Falva. Then it was Horsch and Cagnazzi, then Cruz and Bergeron and Frank Chang then, as we give the classification to you, with Matias Perez-Compang having to bank a P16 in the end ahead of Jason McCarthy, Brett Curtis, Tony Davis. Not a great day for Tony Davis, to be fair, and Michael Mathis and John Bennett and Ben Godenzi then. They were all drivers that went by the wayside, and Martin Burrows and Jay Logan unfortunately didn't start, and Martin Burrows then was out earlier on in the race. Their confirmation of the results then. What a vantage point that is up there, but you're a braver man than me if you're prepared to go up that observation tower, because I'm dashed if I would. So the cars all into the pit lane then to be congratulated. Those that have taken the provisional podium honours, they'll be congratulated by their teams respectively, and quite rightly so. The first Ferrari Challenge race with the 296 is done and dusted, and as I say, a creditable drive from all of the drivers as well. Dylan Medler. I spent quite some time with Dylan Medler, who contested in the Winter Challenge over in Abu Dhabi in January, and forgive any colourful language, but he was and is very excited. He's a very tall chap, you know, that's 7 foot.
Yeah,
not quite. But
yeah, I talked with him briefly on Thursday, and he was very excited of this new era of challenge racing, and now we can see that the hard work and the preparation paid off, and everybody's super happy, and he deserved it. Great start, and he pulled away really with a strong pace since the start of the race, so really confident with the race car, knows his limits, and little race of attention with the safety car in the end, but also handled that situation really well. So,
and that takes maturity, Tony.
Yes, and clean and great drive from the winner.
Well done to Dylan Medler then, and also well done to Brian Cook, and the congratulations and plaudits keep on coming then for Dylan, of course, driving for the collection, and behind every racing driver there's a bunch of people, Tony, that's making it happen for you and all those other drivers as well to be successful.
Yeah, we have great teams, teams with a lot of people working and getting every detail right. So this Ferrari Challenge championship in general is very high level, and the cars and the teams are well prepared. So it's a pleasure to be here, and also nice to see what goes behind the great results. There's a lot of hard work.
Yes, well said, and well done to the teams that have propelled their drivers to whatever position as the observation tower and the great vantage point that it affords to our spectators. Brian Cook, of course, victorious for Ferrari of Seattle. He and I had a hug at lunchtime, and well done, Brian Cook. He's with Shea right now.
Lucky hug had to be it, Dave. Well, Brian, you've won races before, but to start off the season, this means you're championship leader. So how good does this feel?
It's a great way to start. I tell you what, this Texas heat is a lot. But yeah, we had not a great start to the season, trashing the car very early in testing, but the MG1 team did an incredible job to get it back, and here we are, P1.
How difficult was it to stay calm when you were under such pressure from the competition in the middle of that race?
I've got my coach, Mark, saying breathe, got the radio on, singing some tunes to myself, so it wasn't too bad.
It worked. Congratulations on today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Ciao.
Well done, Brian. I'm going to find out what tune he was listening to, Tony, because it worked, didn't it? Well, Dylan has been enjoying so much adulation that he hasn't even had time to take his hands device and crash helmet off yet. We could see him there going to congratulate Brian Cook. Great camaraderie among the drivers as well. Of course, you know, when you're out there on the track and the crash helmet is on, of course, every other driver is a competitor and you want to beat them. But actually, the great camaraderie. And right now, he has got his hands device and crash helmet off, and he's with Shea, and that is Dylan Medler.
Dylan, I have to ask, was it harder driving the car or celebrating with your whole team?
Definitely celebrating. This is such an amazing moment, especially a great way to start off the season strong.
Your first overall win, does this feel different?
It feels so much different. I've had class wins before, but this first overall win is like no other feeling, especially celebrated with my team. There's no other way I could have done it without them.
I saw you were still pushing hard throughout the entire race. You were still getting tire smoke going into turn 1. Why keep pushing? Just learning the car?
No, I just didn't want to give anybody a chance. Even if I'm 7 seconds ahead, it couldn't be more. I would like 10-second gap, if not more.
Awesome job today.
Thank you so much.
Well done, Dylan. Yes, 7 seconds wasn't enough. He wanted a margin of 10 seconds, and that's that's a winning racing driver, isn't it? You just want more, Tony.
Yeah, it's a good way to do it. I remember back in the years, late 90s, when Kimi was doing Formula Renault in UK, the advice was not to win by 1 second, but to crash everybody by winning 10 to 20 seconds. So this way, the winners are remembered. A strong performance from Dylan and great way to celebrate.
We've got more racing to come, of course, from Ferrari Challenge COTA Shell, but for the moment, from Tony Verlander and from myself, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye for now.